Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are here with Austin from Ohio, and today is Tuesday, June 29th, 2021. I really hope that this works out, and by this I mean the computer for the video that I'm trying to make, that I've been trying to make on the phone, and just in general. And I've been having such trouble with recording apps, and so far not YouTube really, because I don't have a problem uploading things to YouTube. The problem is I tried 3 different recording apps on my phone and none of them were working. I don't know what's going on, or if something's going on with the phone, or if something else is at play. But yeah, so I dug out the computer because I haven't used it. I only use it for live streams, and that is what we're going to use today, and hopefully it works. I would cast myself into the top corner like I was doing before, but it'll get all lagged and the words will be behind and you won't be able to bear the video. So we're just going to see how this is going to work. Running at 1 minute and 10 seconds right now, so looks to be in good working order. So I need to catch up on some things, of course, and I'm sure you guys have been talking about it with everybody, and just everything that's been going on has been crazy. It's been so crazy to sit here and watch all of this unfold. I don't even know how it got to be this bad. I see it every day at work. I see it when I go out. It's still just terrible. Ohio supposedly lifted their mask mandate, right? People are still wearing masks walking around the store and at work when it's 100+ degrees in a warehouse. So I don't know what that's about, but let's go ahead and jump right in. We'll jump right in. Okay, this first one is a report from Forbes. You can see at the top there. World needs equivalent of pandemic lockdown every 2 years to meet Paris carbon emission goals. Right off the bat, this is where it's going. This is where everybody was going from the beginning. They were going to go from, sickness to, okay, now the climate. And they've been engineering the climate like crazy, because where I'm at, it is crazy hot and very dry. Very dry. Let's go ahead and read this. Let me see if I can, I think it was control forward. I'm trying to enlarge the text here, so in case you have trouble reading. The dramatic drop in global carbon emissions seen during the early days of the situation and global shutdowns would need to be matched every 2 years for the rest of the decade in order to meet the goals outlined in the Paris Climate Agreement, according to a new study. Though the authors don't recommend that the world rely on lockdowns to help battle climate change. Actually, yeah, they do. They are relying on it because they would not have mentioned it. They only mention things like this if they're going to rely on it. This is what they do. They'll come out and they'll say, oh no, we don't recommend that the world rely on this. And then every single time you see businesses, governments, you name it, coming out and enforcing these edicts. This is what we're really working with here. Okay, published in Nature Climate Change, the report found that carbon emissions fell by about 2.6 billion metric tons in 2020, or roughly a 7% drop from the previous year, a historic decrease. However, researchers said further drops in carbon output, 1 billion to 2 billion metric tons per year, are needed for global emissions to meet the safe worldwide temperature range defined by the Paris Agreement to dodge the effects of climate change. Okay, so they're going to go based off of temperatures defined by the Paris Agreement, so defined by just men, same as us, who wrote up some contract or something. This is ridiculous. Every single solution always seems to be more government control, more lockdowns, more regulations. violence, more tyranny. And that is what all this is. That is exactly what all this is. And this is straight out of Agenda 21, Agenda 2030. So I don't want to... Looks like we're still going good on the recording. If I'm lagging, I apologize. And I will try to do better on the phone next time or here next time. But I don't know how this is going to turn out yet. So bear with me. Despite causing the swift... Oh, wait. That's roughly the equivalent of a situation scale lockdown once every 2 years, researchers said. Yeah, experts said. Yeah, experts said if we don't do this, and you know what? Let me tell you something real quick. Let me explain something. Let's say, for the sake of this conversation, that everything that they're telling us about the climate is true. No geoengineering, just nature. Just whatever they say. And let's say that, it is becoming too rough to control. There is nothing that any man, mortal man at all whatsoever, no matter how many groups he forms, no matter how they go about it, you will not be able to stop this by government control. You wouldn't be able to stop something like that. We all would not be able to stop it. You could, slow it down, but you wouldn't be able to stop something like that. This is just the same rhetoric that it has been for a while, and more so since Agenda 2030, well, Agenda 21, but more recently, Agenda 2030 was adopted in 2015. Alright, despite causing a swift drop in emissions, researchers wrote the lockdowns will not yield lasting improvement because the measures had little effect on the larger fossil fuel-based infrastructure that sustains the global economy. Again, why don't you go ahead and actually look into and read about those green startups and the green cars and the green everything and the smart homes and all of that. Because the people that are already here and have been here, we already know what all this is. Researchers wrote the course of global emissions could be redirected if world governments invest in green energy and divest from fossil fuels in the years after the situation. And here's a crucial quote. Quote, "We have failed to understand in the past that we can't have tackling climate change as a side issue. It can't be about one law or policy. It has to be put at the heart of all policy," the study's lead author, Corinne Lecchieri, told The Guardian. Every strategy and every plan from every government must be consistent with tackling climate change. And this goes into a whole bunch of... Well, actually, we'll just go ahead and read this, because this is actually very important. I was going to skip it, but I won't. Key background. According to the Paris Agreement, Earth's temperature should stay within 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2 degrees Celsius of pre-industrial levels to prevent climate catastrophes caused by warming temperatures, like natural disasters and food insecurity. It may be a long-shot goal, recent evidence suggests. The emissions drop from situation lockdowns last year will have virtually no long-term effect on the fight against the imminent climate crisis, according to the World Meteorological Organization's annual report released in November. Last month, the United Nations warned that the most recent reduction targets submitted by Paris Agreement member states would result in less than a 1% decline in global carbon dioxide emissions by 2030. There's that year again. The reason they're putting a year on it is not like, okay, we're going to set a goalpost and we're going to try to save the whole earth by this point in time, and everyone's going to be happy. No. 2030 is their new date for their world government to be full, and they will realize this in this generation. They will have this realization. They will be the ones to reap the benefits of all of their ancestors' hard work. Okay, so when a previous report projected emissions would have to drop by 45% to meet the Paris Agreement, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, and remember what we know about him? The people that have also been here, because I covered what the Secretary General is, and General is a military title, because the UN is a political military organization. Okay, so the report is, quote, a red alert for our planet, adding the governments are nowhere close to the level of ambition required to meet the agreement's goals. According to data from the International Energy Agency released this week, global carbon dioxide emissions have already rebounded to pre-situation levels. What do you think about that? Looks like the recording's still going good here. This might actually work out. I really hope so. I really hope this video works out today, because then I'll be doing this. Okay, now we're going to go to the next one. We're going to move on, but I cannot pause, so I can't go through the articles and look at them and see which one I want to bring up next, so I have to do it like this. Let's see. Oh, okay, yes, we'll go here. Okay, switch pages. Recording still going? It might be lagging a little bit, but hopefully we got here no problem. And we will go ahead and... Sorry guys, this is what we had to do in order to get this to run correctly. Alright, here we are over at this one here. Biden announces a series of executive actions backing gun control. June 24th. Okay, we knew this was coming. We know what they're doing with the firearms here. Oh yes, because we will not be allowed to defend ourselves and our family and our neighbors and all who may be in danger of something or someone. Joe Biden announced a series of executive actions Wednesday confirming his support for gun control. Quote, the Second Amendment from the day it was passed limited the type of people who could own a gun and what type of weapon you could own, Biden said. You couldn't buy a cannon. Okay, first of all, he's talking about the Second Amendment as if it's like a part of a law that was passed through a legislative process and went through the House, the Senate, and then the President's desk. No, these were... Why do you think it's called the Constitution and the Bill of Rights? The Bill of Rights is intended to be a separate document. And the Bill of Rights are rights that you already possess by birth. All of us in this earth were put here by God through our parents. And nobody has any right over anybody else. Freedom is defined by do whatever you like without infringing on somebody else. And there's a lot of infringing going on all sides. Both sides of the Hegelian dialectic and also other sides. And this is exactly how they're going to do it. Right here. Alright, let's get back into it. I can't pause, so you guys are going to have to listen to me drink my drinks and smoke my cigs. Here's another quote by Joe Biden. Quote, well, this is his quote, his version of the Thomas Jefferson quote. Quote, those who say the blood of patriots, and all that stuff about how we're going to have to move against the government, Biden said. If you think you need to have weapons to take on the government, you need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons. Okay, first of all, this sentence is a scare tactic, saying that you're going to need this if you ever wish to conquer them. Not true. They can have their little weapons and their little toys. They can have whatever they want. You know what they don't have? Numbers. we don't have numbers as of right now because no one's on the same page. So he's trying to instill the idea of giving up in people's heads before anything even happens by saying that you have no chance, of course. The point is, there's always been the ability to rationally limit, the type of weapon that could be owned and who could own it. He continued, not true, until the first gun control law in this country was the one with the sawed-off shotguns, and that was in like the 30s. The next one after that wouldn't happen until 1968. The Gun Control Act of 1968. So, yeah, lie. You can go into any department store before 1968 and you could just buy guns. Just straight out. No paperwork, no nothing. It's how it's always been in this country, and we've been fine. So, what he's saying about limiting people rationally and all this and that's a lie. There hasn't always been that. It's more recent in human history. As reported by the Daily Signal, Biden discussed new multi-jurisdictional firearms trafficking strike forces to stop illegal gun trafficking across state lines. First of all, those are laws that they wrote a while ago that they are now using military force on, basically policing guns. It's called illegal gun trafficking now if you take your firearm across state lines and let your buddy borrow it. Why is that? Why would that even be a crime? Nothing justifies that, in my opinion. These new forces will be in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Washington, D.C., all of which have seen some of the largest increases in crime in the country. Also, if you want to think about it, these are also the cities in which have the strictest gun laws. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Excuse me. An effective violent crime reduction strategy must also address the illegal trafficking of firearms and focus keeping guns out of the wrong hands. Attorney General Merrick Garland, who was also president of the White House, said. Biden mentioned his long history of pushing gun control in the Senate. I've been at this a long time, he said. There are things that we know that work to reduce gun violence and violent crime. Yeah, there are things that we know that work to reduce gun violence and violent crime, and it has nothing to do with disarming the American people. No, that solution starts at home. With parents teaching their children that, well, teaching them correctly, bringing them up right. But no. And here's the kicker of this whole article here. He also talked about increasing resources for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives to hold firearm dealers accountable. The ATF will attempt to revoke the license of gun dealers the first time they sell or transfer a gun to a prohibited person. On the surface, doesn't sound too bad until you define prohibited person. What would a prohibited person be? How is that defined? Well, it must be in one of their laws. You see where I'm going with this. Pretty much everything in this line of study is following your thoughts to the logical conclusion. Most people's problem is once they arrive at that conclusion, they think it can never happen. For whatever reason, Hollywood has told them. So yeah, they're going to beef up the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. So the people that burn children on multiple occasions. Good job. Man. And down here it says, the ATF will attempt to revoke the license of gun dealers the first time they transfer a gun to a prohibited person. If they fail to run a required background check, if they falsify records such as firearms transaction form, or if they fail to respond to an ATF tracing request, or refuse to permit the ATF to conduct an inspection in violation of the law. That's what Biden called a zero-tolerance policy for rogue gun dealers. Oh, so they're rogue gun dealers now. All these words for people just selling tools. That's it. That's literally it. Like your car, like your tools, that's what it is. It's a tool. And this is crazy. And holding gun dealers accountable. So you want to hold car manufacturers accountable because some asshole drinks and goes and kills a family of 5. I'm going to sue Hyundai, right? Okay, let's see. While we're on this subject, the next one here. And this is Pelosi. Legislation to stop gun violence. We'll have a better chance if we pass H.R. 1. What is H.R. 1, you say? Well, we're about to find out. Let me make sure I'm still recording. You guys got to bear with me because I've been having a lot of problems with these recording apps, and I had to dig out the computer, and I'm really hoping this works. So, please let me know. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi indicated on Thursday that H.R. 1, the so-called For the People Voting Rights Act, will benefit Democrats by helping to elect more of them. Legislation will make it easier to vote in federal elections, also easier to cheat, critics say. Okay, I'm saying goodbye to this pop-up. And all of these because they're really annoying. They're going to mess up my recording or make me lag. I'm going to get really, really angry. We're trying. Pelosi at her weekly news conference noted that Thursday marked 6 years since the racist attack on Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston, South Carolina. Of course, they have to bring up that, and they have to introduce the race with it, so it's not just the shooting that happened. It was a race thing, of course, because that's where we're at right now. That's the best divide-conquer strategy they've had, actually. It's the one that is the most effective. It is the one that is most effective, and nobody can deny that. And here we go. This is what she said. This all comes down to the gun violence issue, Pelosi said. Oh, of course it does. And as we keep saying, we are not going away until we pass legislation to stop gun violence. What she really means to say is we are not going away until we have every firearm in the United States. And that is something I hope never happens, ever. Because this is the last place in the world where people have adequate arms to defend against tyranny. Alright. And we will have a better chance to do that if we pass H.R. 1. Clearly the Republicans in Congress are handmaidens of the gun industry. I don't know why it's called gun industry. Whatever. And they have prevented us from passing. Although it's bipartisan, it's not enough for us to pass in the Senate. So again, the For the People Act is really important for many reasons, including the personal safety of America's families and children. Oh my. She's not even trying to act like she cares. She's just saying stuff. And of course, it's what these people are paid to do because they have an agenda. And they get paid very handsomely to push that agenda. And they get assurances that they will be able to keep their power. Which is just, of course, not true once the true people have the power that they want. According to a congressional summary of the bill, which has passed the House and is blocked for the moment in the closely divided Senate, the bill addresses voter access, election integrity, and security, campaign finance, and ethics for the 3 branches of government. So remember when we read about the nationalization of elections, just like Soviet Russia, just like Communist China, they're finally moving to do this. And they did it with the whole left-right Hegelian dialectic paradigm. Because they make one out to be the bad guy and they can do whatever they want with the other guy. In this case, it's the left side. So it worked out very, very well for them. And it just so happens that the majority of people are brainless. The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. I don't know how many times I'm going to have to say that. I'll say it again. The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Okay, let's see where we're at here. This bill addresses voter access, I already read that. Specifically, the bill expands voter registration, automatic and same-day registration, and voting access, e.g. vote by mail and early voting. It also limits removing voters from voter rolls. And it requires states to establish independent redistricting commissions to carry out congressional redistricting. Okay, so I don't even know. Additionally, the bill sets forth provisions related to election security, including sharing intelligence information with state election officials, supporting states in securing their election systems, developing a national strategy to protect U.S. democratic institutions, establishing in the legislative branch the National Commission to Protect United States Democratic Institutions, and other provisions to improve the cybersecurity of election systems. Oh, so now there's a National Commission to Protect United States Democratic Institutions. Wow, that literally just sounds like another one of their alphabet agencies that do something. Oh wait, it is. And further, the bill addresses campaign finance, including by expanding the prohibition on campaign spending by foreign nationals, requiring additional disclosure of campaign-related fundraising and spending, requiring additional disclaimers regarding certain political advertising, and establishing an alternative campaign funding system for certain federal offices. You want to know something funny about all this stuff, guys? All of this stuff is pretty much already illegal. In the Constitution, it explains very plainly our election process. And all of this stuff is already illegal or borderline. They're doing this just to further the transformation into the New World Order. As always, right? The bill addresses ethics in all three branches of government, including by requiring a code of conduct for Supreme Court justices, prohibiting members of the House from serving on the board of for-profit entity, and establishing additional conflict of interest and ethics provisions for federal employees in the White House. This bill requires the president, the vice president, and certain candidates for those offices to disclose 10 years of tax returns. Again, another reason for the Trump presidency right here. So they could do this to our election systems. And we've all known for a long time about our system of elections in this country. People have been complaining about the problems for a very long time. But now they're tying it to the disarmament of the United States. Okay, so the next one. Okay, the next one is this one. And then after this one, I got another one on the on gun control. All right, Democrats had to pare down gun control as an aim for unity. Well, yeah, not just the Democrats, of course, but okay. Let me see if I can increase the size of the text here. Might be too far, but you know what? We'll deal with it. We'll deal with it. I'm curious about this recording because it seems to be lagging a little bit, and I really hope it happens a lot. Senate Democrats are struggling for the total unity they need on major infrastructure and elections bills. Their gun control point man is determined to avoid that kind of quicksand. Instead, Democrats are preparing to vote on a scaled down guns bill. Most likely a curtailed plan to boost background checks for firearm buyers. The goal is to unite the party and pick up a limited number of Republican votes, even as their effort appears headed toward the same doomed fate as previous proposals to curb gun violence. Despite all but certain GOP filibuster facing Democrats on guns, they're well aware that a unified 50-vote Senate majority is the only way to put unmitigated political pressure on their opponents. Oh yes. And yes, Donald Trump is making a new site, apparently. And he was just on some weird revenge tour in Ohio. Like, what is this clown doing? And he's literally a clown. And he's going around and keeping people locked in that system of hope. that, well, is offered to you through the eyes of the Trump people and, the whole QAnon ordeal. A false sense of hope so you don't have to do anything, and it's still working all this time later. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. It's a stark contrast with Democrats' approach to their sweeping elections package, which lacks total support for their Senate caucus and is unlikely to win any Republican votes when it comes to the floor this week. But it's just a matter of math in the evenly divided Senate. According to Senator Chris Murphy, who had spearheaded the latest round of gun control negotiations, quote, "I'm not interested in bringing a proposal to the Senate that can't even get 50. And the quickest ways to get 50 is to keep all Democrats together," said Murphy. Rather than put up House-passed bills that establish universal background checks and close other loopholes, Democrats are leaning towards scheduling a vote next month on legislation increasing the number of online gun show transactions covered by federal background checks. Unlike the House-passed gun bills, Senate Democrats are betting such legislation could unite them and even tempt Republicans to join them. Oh yes, more of this false left-right garbage. And both are working toward the same goal, which is to take your rifle, your handgun, your shotgun you use for hunting or whatever you might use it for. And this just keeps going on about this stuff here, which is not really important. Just wanted to bring this up to show the overall message, which is that they are picking up the firearms at a faster rate. I think I saw there was another shooting today. I haven't looked into it yet, though. And let's go to this one here. Definitely going to have to enhance the text on this one. But I don't know if I'll be able to keep it in the screen. Oh, this ain't too bad. Okay, this is gun control in America. Let's see if the recording's still going all right. Not too bad. Gun control in America, planned agenda of the Committee of 300. Act 1, the screenplay to outlaw the possession of firearms in the United States, was written and put into motion long before any shots rang out at Columbine High School in Colorado. Columbine shootings, along with the school shootings in Oregon in '98, are just part of Act 1, the latest installment in a planned series of shooting massacre atrocities in America that are designed to rile up the American public to a fevered pitch of hysteria and consequently create a mass demand for the banning of all firearms in this country. This is still going on, of course. We're doing it right now. And it's only because they've failed, because Americans, us, have been like, screw you. My neighbors are outside and they're doing very weird things. There's been fireworks going off in my town. A whole bunch all through the night. This is what happens in the Ohio Valley around the 4th of July. And it's great. Okay, now here we go. Act 2 will include far more horrendous atrocities and acts of brutality by crazed lone gunmen mowing down scores of innocents at schools and buildings or churches or playgrounds or community picnics, fast food establishments, or wherever young people might gather in the ordinary activities of American life. The more innocent and protected the environment where these atrocities will take place, the better, at least from the planner's point of view. The goal is to sufficiently shock the American public into accepting the necessity of total gun control. As the months roll on and these shooting atrocities spread across the news, Clinton 1234 in Reno will be holding press conferences and calling for the sane and reasonable controls in order to put an end to the slaughter of our children. To help pull the net tighter, other government agencies will get in the act, including IRS, who will push to tax and register all firearms. And yes, this is old, but the reason that I brought this up was to show that they've been at this for a very long time. You know, the first milestone of taking guns away, their first date to get it done, was 1969. And you can look that up, Office of Disarmament Affairs. United Nations. Okay, so that was Act 2. Act 3 will culminate with the passage of federal law, which will outlaw the possession of all firearms. We're not there yet. Very close. Very close. A complete ban on all firearms in the United States? Yes, and it's going to happen unless a large enough segment of the American public quickly wake up to the deceit and treachery being perpetrated and take vigorous action to abort it. This is still the solution to this day. This is still the solution. Why do you think they're trying so hard? Yes, they have their weird little technologies and they can single people out, even small groups. But imagine if the entire country was standing in unison and there was no leader for them to take out. We all just universally understood and wanted the same thing, freedom. And we peacefully took back our towns, but harmless as doves, but vicious as serpents. Or no, wise as serpents, harmless as doves. That's how we have to be. But apparently a lot of people didn't get the memo on that one. A lot of people didn't get the memo on that one, so we have a a nation full of sleepers. Okay, what's so bad about gun control? We have to go over this all the time. And I'm going to keep going over it because it's important. Let's make sure this is still good. Alright. The connection between gun control laws and the wholesale genocide of affected populace was well illustrated in a November 1999 article by Yuri Dalbenko. Parallel in wording between Nazi Germany's 1938 weapons law and the 1968 U.S. Gun Control Act is unnerving. And yeah, if you're bored one day, go do that. Go read the Germans' 1938 weapons law and the 1968 U.S. Gun Control Act. The big push to outlaw guns in America is part of a larger agenda to dismantle and destroy the United States of America from within. One part of that plan is population control, which the Executive Committee of the New World Order, Committee of 300, wants firmly in place before the year 2003. They failed. You know why they failed? Because they didn't get the guns out of the hands of the American people. Even after 9/11, they couldn't get it done. And you know why that is? Because they won't attempt it if we call their bluff. No government in history that ever was or ever will be would ever, no person alive today, or group of people, because that's what it comes down to, would ever stare the majority of humans in the face and challenge them to a fight. It would never happen. Man, it is hot today, guys. It's still saying, my car temperature, well, thermometer is still saying 101. I believe it's probably pretty close to that. Okay, other control mechanisms that are part of the pipeline include the replacement of cash with plastic smart cards and foolproof ID personal history files utilizing implantable microchips, retina scans, DNA mapping. Smart cards and ID technologies are already being rapidly introduced in New Zealand, Australia, and Canada. All these years later, they called it. Because all this is true. This is all reality right here. I will try to leave a link to this. I gotta figure out how it's gonna work on the computer. I think I just do it after the video, like usual, or maybe it'll be a lot easier if you wanted to check this out. But I wanted to move on to something else. Okay, let's see. Okay, this one is, forget convid, we'll say. Global oligarchs are now rehearsing for a cyber situation. Oh yes, and this, don't get it twisted, this is all predictive programming. All of this is predictive programming because they're telling us that they're going to pull this off. And I believe it could be this year. I would not be surprised if it was this year. Just got a really bad feeling about it, guys. I don't know what else to say about that. A situation of black hat cyber attacks against critical infrastructure would necessitate mandated and authenticated digital IDs for every person on Earth prior to being allowed internet privileges. Secondly, emergency shutdowns would cause economic chaos. This is a critical article to read and digest. It isn't an easy read, however. If you were caught by the surprise of situation narrative, this is a clear warning of what would come next. Technocrats of the world are lowering the boom to capture the planet for the Great Reset, aka technocracy. How many times have we heard that? Out of their own mouths, too. Out of their own mouths. Sorry, guys. Normally I would pause so I could take a drink, but you know how it is. Last year, World Economic Forum teamed up with the Russian government and global banks to run a high-profile cyber attack simulation that targeted the financial industry, an actual event that would pave the way for a reset of the global economy. The simulation, named Cyber Polygon, may have been more than a typical planning exercise and bears similarities to World Economic Forum-sponsored situation, Event 201. Just wait for that car to go by. That briefly preceded the situation. On Wednesday, the WEF, along with Russia's Sberbank, and its cybersecurity subsidiary BI Zone, announced that a new global cyber attack simulation would take place this coming July to instruct participants in developing secure ecosystems by simulating a supply chain cyber attack similar to the recent SolarWinds hack that would assess the cyber resilience of the exercise participants. Okay, so they're getting ready to do this. They just had Cyber Yankee. Homeland Security is having theirs in August. Something is definitely going to go down. I can't put my finger on it, but we are being set up and primed for a serious cyber attack. On the newly updated event website, the simulation called Cyber Polygon 2021 ominously warns that given the digitalization trends largely spurred by the situation, a single vulnerable link is enough to bring down the entire system, just like the domino effect, adding that a secure approach to digital development today will determine the future of humanity for decades to come. You know why it's built like that? Because it was intentionally built like that, so they wouldn't have to try hard to destroy the whole thing. They knew building this system that all it would take was one domino. They weren't planning on staying on this system. The exercise comes several months after the WEF, the International Organization for Public-Private Cooperation, that counts the world's richest elite among its members, formally announced its movement for a Great Reset, which would invoke the coordinated transition to a fourth industrial revolution, global economy in which human workers become increasingly irrelevant. This revolution, including its biggest proponent, and that's Mr. WEF founder Klaus Schwab, previously presented a major problem for World Economic Forum members and member organizations in terms of what will happen to the masses of people left unemployed by the increasing automation and digitalization in the workplace. Oh, yeah, I forgot about this, people. Yeah, you know what's going to happen? You're fired. You're fired. Oh, what are we going to do with you now? Well, just take this cure. Take this cure and you will be good to go. Not. Come on, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This revolution including... Oh, wait, no, we already read that. New economic systems that are digitally based and either partnered with or run by central banks are a key part of the WEF's Great Reset. Such systems would be part of the answer to controlling the masses of recently unemployed. As others have noted, these digital monopolies, not just financial services, would allow those who control them to turn off a person's money and access to services if that individual does not comply with certain laws, mandates, and regulations, i.e. beast system. The beast. The beast as spoken of in Revelation. A lot of people didn't get the memo on that one either. And they think it's an actual real beast, and America's not involved at all in the end times. They don't understand Babylon the Great. The WEF has been actively promoting and creating such systems, and has most recently taken to calling its preferred model stakeholder capitalism, which is another word for fascism. We covered that. We all should know that. And I'm sure you do, because you guys are awesome. Though advertised as a more inclusive form of capitalism, stakeholder capitalism would essentially fuse the public and private sectors, creating a system much more like Mussolini's corporatist style of fascism than anything else. Of course, it's all of it. All of the governments of the 20th century, those were all just tests. So they could test to see what would work and what wouldn't in their new world government. So they're using all of it because it all worked. It all worked perfectly. Yet to usher in this new and radically different system, the current corrupt system must somehow collapse in its entirety, and its replacement must be successfully marketed to the masses as somehow better than its predecessor. Yeah, and that's happening now. With our permission. Because a lot of people are just waking up to stuff and, they're like, oh, we got to destroy the state. They're going to fall for this. And they're going to take the next thing that is up that they want, which is their new world system, their new world government. And they're going to accept it because it has to be better than what we were living under, right? Wrong, it's 1,000 times worse. Anyway, when the world's most powerful people, such as members of World Economic Forum, desire to make radical changes, crises conveniently emerge. Whether a war, a plague, or economic collapse, that enable a reset of the system, which is frequently accompanied by a massive upward transfer of wealth. We saw that at the beginning of 2020. And this reset isn't just the economic system. A lot of people keep getting misdirected, and they think the reset just has to do with, the economy. No. It's everything. Everything. You included. Individual reset. It's literally a chapter in the book, Great Reset. Individual reset. Environmental reset. Societal reset. All these things are happening. All of these, what do you think the depopulation is? It's part of the reset. It's dubbed the Great Reset because in 1,000 years, if people are still living, it will be remembered as a pivotal point for everything that would maybe come in the future. Depending on how long, it's allowed to go on. Of course. In recent decades, such events have often been preceded by simulations that come thick and fast before the very event they were meant to prevent takes place. Recent examples include 2020 U.S. election and situation. One of these, Event 201, was co-hosted by the World Economic Forum in October 2019, simulating a novel situation that spreads around the world and causes major disruptions to the global economy. Just a few weeks before the first case was found, Cyber Polygon 2021 is merely the latest such simulation, co-sponsored by the World Economic Forum. The forum's current agenda and its past track record of hosting prophetic simulations demands that the exercise be scrutinized. Though Cyber Polygon 2021 is months off, not anymore. July 9th. Soon to come. It was preceded by Cyber Polygon 2020, similar sponsored simulation that took place last July, which speakers warned of a coming deadly situation of cyber attacks that would largely target two economic sectors, healthcare and finance. Cyber Polygon 2020 was officially described as the international online training for raising global cyber resilience. It involved many of the world's biggest tech companies and international authorities from IBM to Interpol. Oh yes. There were also many surprising participants at the event, some of whom have been traditionally seen as opposed to Western imperial interests. For example, the person chosen to open the Cyber Polygon event was the Prime Minister of the Russian Federation, Mikhail Mishustin, or Mishustin, I don't know how to pronounce it. And its main host, Bizone, was a subsidiary of the Russian government-controlled Sberbank. This suggests the overused Russian hacker narrative may be coming to an end or will soon be switched out for another boogeyman more suitable in light of current political realities. Yep, that is still to come. Even though they're still going to blame Russia for this, probably. Or Iran, or China, or North Korea, or anyone. Anyone except us. Go look in the mirror. Okay, running out of time here. I wanted to get to something else. Man, I had a whole bunch. Man, I'll save that one. Actually, I'll save this one, and I'll read this one next. Okay, the architects of Cyber Polygon, according to Russian cybersecurity firm Bizone, 120 organizations spread over 29 countries, took part in the two scenarios that were simulated at Cyber Polygon 2020. As many as 5 million people allegedly having watched the live stream in over 57 countries. Like many events that took place in 2020, Cyber Polygon simulations were conducted online due to situation restrictions. Together with the WEF, Bizone, a subsidiary of Sberbank, of course, we know that, manages the Cyber Polygon project. Sberbank's largest shareholder as of last year, the Russian government, and is thus often described by English language media outlets as a state-controlled bank. Got a bunch of kids walking by right now. They need to go. Hopefully they don't interrupt me. I'm trying to teach you. Get off my street. Now I feel 100. Okay, actually, I want to run this next one here. We'll go ahead and read some of it. I will save the rest of this for a different time. Because something else that goes with that too... Well, I got this one. We'll actually go ahead and read this one. Let's see if the recording's still working. I'm working out the kinks, guys. Just bear with me. Okay. From Event 201 to Cyber Polygon, the WEF simulation of a coming cyber pandemic. And this is only so important, and I have so many articles on it, because it's literally a false flag in the making. A false flag in the making. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if something went down this year. Looks like it is going to storm here. And we already know about that. We just read about that. Oh, and look at their picture here. Towards stronger cybersecurity leadership, what the C-suite needs to know. On Wednesday, the World Economic Forum, along with Russia's Sberbank and its cybersecurity subsidiary Bizone, announced that a new global cyber attack simulation would take place this coming July to instruct participants in developing secure ecosystems by simulating a supply chain cyber attack similar to the recent SolarWinds hack that would assess the cyber resilience of the exercise participants. On the newly updated event website, the simulation, called Cyber Polygon 2021, ominously warns that given the digitalization trends largely spurred by the situation, of course, a single vulnerable link is enough to bring down the entire system. Just like the domino effect, adding that a secure approach to digital development today will determine the future of humanity for decades to come. Wait a minute. This is literally the one we just read. How did I not know that? How did I not know that? Okay, let's try this one. Okay, we'll go ahead and go through this one a little bit. Sorry, guys. I didn't even realize. Did not even realize. 55 minutes in, not too bad. Cyber pandemic prepping, Cyber Polygon 2021, tackle ransomware, supply chains, digital currencies, and global internet regulation. You guys see Facebook's internet regulation commercial? They support updated internet regulations. Because they'll be the ones making out, jeez, like a fat rat. Okay, the Cyber Polygon 2020 agenda is out. Discussions will focus on ransomware, supply chain attacks, digital currencies, with one of the desired outcomes being international regulation on the internet. That was one of the biggest ones from Event 201. We all just missed it. Look at all the censorship that has taken place. I mean, yours truly has been censored plenty times. Plenty times. My backup channel is set for termination. My main channel has one strike because one of them, well, I didn't get another strike in the allotted time zone they gave me, like 3 months. So, I'm about to do that with my backup channel. And hopefully, it's all good. But let's continue reading. Following up on last year's cyber pandemic situation, or simulation, this year Cyber Polygon will hold live training exercises responding to a targeted supply chain attack on corporate ecosystem in real time. That's what they say. In real time. What else is in real time if not real time? Running parallel to training exercise will be discussions on how to tackle everything from ransomware and supply chain attacks to implementing resilient digital currencies and a desire for global governance on the internet. And in today's world, if global governance is on the internet, then it will be in reality. Looks like they found their avenue after all. We all know, but still pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. Klaus Schwab last year. And this just says that in his opening remarks, last year he said that this cyber pandemic would be worse than the current crisis. This is part 2, act 2 of the reset. The first one was disease. This one is complete breakdown of supply chains. Something's different about this year. And think about this. Think about 9/11 was 2001. Not in 2000. Well, we're on the 20-year anniversary right now. This year's the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Tell me they wouldn't pull something off right then and there. Sometime in September. If I'm going to say that something's going to happen, or if I think something might happen, it might happen in September. Now I'm going to want to save this video in case something does happen in September, because then I can come back and say, hey, look, I said that this was going to happen in September. Because we read these people. We see what they're doing. And what they have allowed the public to know. And they're letting us know enough right now, let me tell you. Oh, here we go. Schwab added that it was important to use situation crisis as a timely opportunity to reflect on the lessons of cybersecurity community, to draw and improve our unpreparedness for a potential cyber pandemic. Okay, basically telling us the truth. Now's the perfect time for them to pull this off. Here's the Cyber Polygon 2021 agenda. New world, new currency. How to make the financial system resilient as digital currencies proliferate. The first one is New World, like New World Order. This is not astrophysics. And the sad part is, you don't even have to be that smart to get it. That's the thing. Speakers don't really care. Mark Barnett and Matthew Dill. People that have some real power. Combating ransomware. Developing an international response. And look at this. Cybercrime Director, Interpol, Craig Jones. Michael Daniel, President and CEO Cyber Threat Alliance. Teresa Walsh, Global Head of Intelligence, FS Isaac. Resilient supply chains. Protect people by protecting business. Moderator, Trolls Ording. Chairman at Buwal Incorporated, Chairman of the Advisory Board at the World Economic Forum Center for Cybersecurity. Oh, jeez. I'm not even going to read that moderator quote. This is all really lagging. I hope that I am not lagging this, I swear. Look at this one. International regulation on the net. A necessity, but what about possibilities? And then you got these people speaking. And there's other items on the list, too. I really hope that I'm not lagging that bad. If you made it this far, I am truly sorry. Today, Eugene Kaspersky, or Kaspersky, however you want to say it, was quoted on the Cyber Polygon 2021 website, highlighting the importance of a cyber immunity approach that pivots away from traditional cybersecurity. The modern landscape of cyber threats requires an entirely new approach. The switch from traditional cybersecurity and the concept of cyber immunity, where the cost of a successful cyber attack is greater than the potential damage. Okay, let's see. Check this out. Cyber pandemic prophecies. Prior to the major ransomware attacks on critical infrastructures this year, World Economic Forum released a short video January 18, 2021, warning about a cyber attack with situation-like characteristics that would spread faster and further than any biological virus. Why would a cyber attack have disease-like characteristics? How does that make sense? And this is what Jeremy Jurgens said last year at the World Economic Forum. Quote, I believe that there will be another crisis. It will be more significant. We need to start this cooperation and understanding early so that when the crisis does hit, we're in a position to respond effectively to it. Basically saying we're planning for a crisis. We're going to start building it up now so we can effectively offer the solution that we want in the first place. He also said, I would anticipate that when we do see this next crisis, it will be faster than what we've seen with the situation. The exponential growth rate will be much steeper, the impact will be greater, and the result, the economic and social implications will be more significant. Okay, I'm just going to go down through here because I got to get going, guys. I didn't know I had so much on here. Trends emerging out of last year's cyber pandemic simulation discussions included a desire for greater consolidation and centralization of power between corporations and states. Gee, come right out and say it, why don't you? A desire to censor fake news, disinformation, and misinformation. That would be us. Desire for the adoption of digital identity schemes. Tony Blair being a major advocate at Cyber Polygon. Event 201 and Cyber Polygon pandemic simulation policymaking. Okay. And we all know about Event 201. I don't want this video to get taken down, so I won't read about it. But check this out. It's important to use the situation as a timely opportunity to reflect on the lessons of cybersecurity community to draw and improve our unpreparedness for a potential cyber pandemic. Klaus Schwab. This is the same thing they did before 9/11. The same thing. I saw a makeup commercial where at the end, a city is shown with the power going out. The same thing. And I'm sure you'll see it in TV shows too. Predictive programming is what it's called. So, the above ingredients are all necessary to usher in WEF's great reset of the global economy and all societal contracts. The new contract will be you are our slave. And if we don't need you, we'll get rid of you. We don't like you that much. Useless eaters. Okay, so over the past year, World Economic Forum and partners have been prepping for a potential cyber pandemic. Like clockwork, the world has been rocked by a wave of cyber attacks on critical infrastructure since the conclusion of Cyber Polygon 2020. Giving the unelected globalist remarkably accurate track record on simulating events shortly before they happen, is the WEF anticipation of a cyber pandemic already upon us, or is the worst yet to come? The worst is yet to come, my friends. But you know what? We can counter all of this. We can counter all of this with mass awakening and freedom. True freedom. And people say they want justice, but justice is literally only the will of the current power structure. I don't get it. I don't have much else to say. I need to see if this is even going to work. So if you're watching this, it worked. Thank the Lord in heaven. Let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not unto temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and glory forever and ever. Amen.